I read the note and it goes, "That's what you get for stealing all of our candy."
Wow. I don't know whether to punish that child or to give that child a high five.
Welcome to the Far More Podcast. Hey, Liz.
Hey, Jason.
We are back.
Welcome back, girl.
Hashtag 2024.
Oh my goodness, I can't even believe it. 2023 flew by.
Yeah, I mean, there was some parts that weren't great. I'm ready for 2024. I'm not going to lie.
Well, you know how when you become a parent, they say the days are long, but the years are short?
Yes.
So 2023, even though it did fly by, there were days that I thought would never end.
Never. So we took a little bit of break over the holiday, but here we are back in the saddle.
So hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you missed us a little bit.
I mean, I missed you.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I think we have one like really dedicated listener, and I bet who shall not be named because we don't name names on this podcast, but I bet he is super excited.
Pumped
to have us back. So
yes.
Let's take a deep breath and just get ready for this podcast.
Just shake off 23.
Shake.
Ooh, dive into 24. Let's
Woohoo!
go.
Not nosedive though.
No.
No nosediving.
No.
So how about
Uh-oh.
we start? Don't uh-oh me already.
Well, you did the pointing thing. When you do the pointing thing, it's like I'm about to throw something in your face. That's kind of what that means usually.
I would never do that.
Okay.
Why don't we spend just a couple minutes? Well, I say a couple minutes, who knows? Just kind of reflecting on 2023. I mean, it was a big year with lots of added challenges, both good and bad. How about I go first?
Go for it, girl.
I'll go first because I want to start off with a positive challenge.
Okay.
So I started a group of ladies that meet at a local coffee shop here. And I was a little terrified because I don't know. I thought nobody's going to show up. But they did, and we wrapped up the year with a super fun Dirty Santa ornament gift situation, and they gifted me with a journal, a gratitude journal, and I thought it was just for me to write down my gratitude, and they said, "Oh, open it." And let me just tell you.
What happened, girl?
The tears came a-flowing because some of them wrote words of affirmation. I can't talk about it too long or else I'll start crying again. But they each wrote words of affirmation on the pages to me for beginning this group. And if that just isn't confirmation that God called this, placed this on my heart, and I stepped out in obedience. And I feel like that was that was a reward. This was God's way of rewarding my obedience for stepping out. And it was wonderful. So that's a really good challenge that happened for me in
I'm proud of you. You put yourself
I'm sorry,
out
what?
there.
Can you say that again?
I said it. Hang on. It's 2024, girl.
No, I want to soak it and say it again.
Hang on. I'm going to say it real slow.
Okay.
I'm proud of you.
Oh,
look at me. Words of affirmation. Maybe this is the year that I'm going to get it right with words of affirmation.
Fingers crossed, y'all. Fingers crossed.
I mean, I'm not good at it.
It's okay. We tend to, this is a little bit of a side note, but we tend to express love in the way that we want to receive love. And so I think, and this would be a really good episode about the 5 love languages. Actually, we should really do that. I'm going to write it down. But I think you and I both really need to work this year on speaking to each other in each other's love languages, not our own. Because
what?
Yeah,
what?
Girl.
What?
Because you receive love differently than I do, and I receive love differently than you do.
I'll help you work through what your love language is, and we can figure that out.
Somebody, I can't with this guy.
I know. Hey, you know what else you did last year?
Oh, we're still on me. Okay.
Well, it's kind of we started a podcast.
This is a we. This isn't a me.
So yeah. Hey, remember that time where I was like half kidding just to see how you'd respond and said we should do a podcast?
And what did I say? Oh, yes.
Girl, your face lit up like a Christmas tree.
I would love to do that with you.
Yeah, I was like, uh-oh. What have I just stepped into?
What monster have I unleashed?
Yes.
Is that kind of what you
Correct.
thought?
Because like 2 days later, you like took over my home office and there's microphones and a laptop in it. And I'm like, oh, goodness, we doing this thing.
But I feel like you like to see that though.
I mean, I like immediate action. I wasn't sure what I was asking for on this one, though.
And I'm
still not.
I'm not good at the immediate action, but man, I sure put it into overdrive.
You did. You jumped on it.
And we got this thing going. We're over 1,000 downloads at this point, and
That's just one platform.
one of my goals for this year is to get that number up to 10,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go big or go home.
Yeah, I mean, I have no clue how I'm going to make that happen yet, so don't ask me on air or off air yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, you just sprung that on me. I mean, that's something to know about. You know what I was thinking about just this morning?
How much you love me.
Indeed. Still in 2024. We're still here, girl. We got it. Making it.
One day at a time.
Normally, like at the end of 23, we're like driving home from my parents' house, like a 3-hour trip. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. I see your face already.
The mood just
And it's
shifted.
like, and like I'm in this like goals and objectives mode.
When are you not in this goals and objectives mode?
All right, fair point. But especially this time of year, we're like, some reason I'm like, okay, here's the things we want to accomplish in 24. Here's the different categories. Here's how we're going to measure it. And like, you are like completely miserable.
I'm like, okay, where are my AirPods? Where's my podcasts?
Yeah. But I didn't do that this year.
No, you didn't. And I am grateful for that.
Yeah. In fact, to take it a step further, I flipped it and said, listen, hey, this thing I normally do, I'm not going to do. Because I'm going to try to focus less on like specific goals and objectives. And I'm going to focus on, or let's have a conversation around who we want to be in 24. So less about what are we going to do.
Less about setting goals, like specific goals. Do you remember what you said, though? Can I throw you under the bus just a little bit?
I mean, I don't remember, so this is going to be fun.
Well, you said, because you don't respond well to that.
Oh, well, I mean, what?
You forgot one key part.
I wasn't wrong in that statement.
No, but don't make it sound so like, actually, you know what?
Come on.
I think you, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was an attempt at you meeting me where I am instead of trying to always bring me to where you are. Yeah. Because I think you probably know that I might never be where you are.
Well, I think I'm shifting too.
Oh, like, say more.
It has been interesting. This podcast, as much as it still scares me and scared me in the beginning, I have changed a lot through it. God's just been working in my life in interesting ways and just whispering different things to me constantly.
It's evident. It shows.
Yeah, I mean, you're super close to me, so you see it a lot. So
I would hope so.
The outside world may not see it or understand it as much, but yeah, there's a lot going on in here. But yeah, I think it's just where where God had me in the moment. So it was not necessarily how do I get Liz
on board with
anything that feels
relating
like,
to forward
progress, momentum, go. It is more of who I feel like God's shaping me to be, and less about what God wants me to do. Because I get so caught up in the practical of doing and checklists and cause and effect. So I'm trying to figure out how do I lay that down and just listen more to how God's shaping my life.
Yeah.
And we were talking, I guess, yesterday about a message from church about just spending more alone time with God. And alone time meaning not worship music.
Quiet.
Not even reading your Bible. Literally alone, where Jesus went away in isolation, in nothing but silence.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes that silence is so scary. And I've gotten away from that over the last couple of years, and I want to get back to that. But even part of the message, one thing was clear is we're built for both solitude with God and community with people. But to get the community with people right, you got to get the quiet time with God right.
Yeah.
And that hit me so hard because I struggle a lot on the people side. And I just realized a lot of that could be because I'm not getting the quiet time right first.
Right. Well, because it is hard. And you don't know this, but we're going to do an episode on it.
Oh,
Yay.
good. Well, that's like 2 episodes you've already previewed.
I think it's actually, if we go by my list that I just made this morning, that will actually be our next episode. Will be being in the quiet with God, because just a little preview of something that was said in this sermon was, this is going to sound weird, but don't take your Bible with you. Mm-hmm. And, I said to you, I don't spend any time. I mean, it was very convicting. And also it was really eye-opening because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, yeah, of course I spend time with God. I'm doing all these things all the time, every day.
Bible studies, etc.
Bible studies, reading God's word, listening to, podcasts of sermons. But no, what he was talking about was literally sitting in the quiet, alone, still, nothing. And I was like, oh, I haven't done that at all. Literally.
But girl, you pretty much have gone through the whole Bible this year too.
I did.
Right?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Ooh, and I started all over again today.
Yeah. Yeah. You left me behind in Job.
Wait, I left you behind or you fell off the wagon?
I mean, I not even fell off I sprinted from it. Right? I could not get through the book of Job. And it wasn't...
Is that where you fell off?
Yes, girl.
Job?
Yes. I couldn't get my head around what was actually happening in the book of Job. I was like, all of this for this dude, I couldn't get past it. And I was actually getting really frustrated.
Yeah.
And so I gave up.
Well, I think I even said, hey, when we hit the New Testament, I'll hit you back up and you can jump back on. But you didn't.
I don't think you hit me back up.
Oh, so we're going to blame me again.
No, I wasn't blaming you. I was saying I just don't remember that you hit me back up moment.
Well, that would have been back in, I don't know, October. So I don't know. I can barely remember yesterday.
That's all right. So you know what I'm pleased with already as the executive producer of the Far More podcast. If you've given me If you've given me the heads up. You've given me a heads up on 2 episodes. That's more heads up than I got like all of 23.
You're welcome.
I was going to the thing blind most of the time.
Yep, not anymore.
Okay.
We're not going to do that. So, how about you? So I shared something that was challenging, stepping out in faith of 2023, because we're going to, remember when I said we're going to spend a couple of minutes reflecting? And now we're like, 10 minutes in on that?
Well, I was trying to be intentional, especially the latter part of the year, getting back to being more vulnerable and more honest. I mean, part of the podcast is part of that, but also getting back into a routine of having intentional time, meeting up with other men and just unpacking our life and what God's doing in our life, and how do we actually get back on true mission for the Lord, right? Not just casually being a follower of Jesus, being an intentional follower of Jesus on mission. And that's a different mindset. And I don't think I've had that mindset. Yeah. And it's a scary shift for me. And I think it's one that maybe I'm in the middle of, more so than I've completed. But, I'm pleased with that. But through that process, I think we talked about this early in one of the episodes where I struggled with the concept of spiritual warfare, right? I'm like, hey, I think we over-index talking about that and we under-index on talking about our own sin nature. And I go back to my own sin nature more so.
Right.
But the more I've gotten deeper in my relationship and the more I've had these really good connections with other men and conversation and trying to be on mission, the more I've actually experienced spiritual attacks, like tangible attacks that I can't even explain.
Yeah.
That have just validated that for me. So I'm taking that into 24 just more eyes wide open
Yeah.
than ever.
Well, and hopefully protected. I think spending that time, the alone,
Yeah.
the quiet time is almost our way of putting on the armor of God. Even if we don't audibly go through or read each verse, the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, I think spending that solid 15, 20, 30 minutes alone with him, just in the quiet for him to speak to us, I think that that's a really good foundation.
Yeah.
So that you can hit the battleground protected and armed. Don't you think?
I do. And, talk about going into 24, trying to focus more on who I want to be than things I want to do.
Who do you want to be?
I've shared with you, there's this word that I've learned over the last couple of weeks.
Oh, it's a fun word too. It's a fun word to say.
Yes. Winnowing.
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 That's right. Winnowing. Can I read you a verse?
Of course.
Okay.
And while you're looking up your verse, for those who are listening and watching, I'm going to put a link in the show notes so that you can see a video that Jason showed me of an example of winnowing. It's actually really cool. So I'll put that there for y'all to see. So what verse are we looking at?
All right, we're in Matthew. We're in Matthew 3. I'm going to give you 11 and 12.
Okay.
And so this is John the Baptist talking. I baptize you with water for repentance, but he who is coming after me is mightier than I, whose sandals I am not worthy to carry. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. All right, now here it comes.
Okay.
His winnowing fork in his right hand, and he will clear his threshing floor and gather his wheat into the barn, but the chaff he will burn with unquenchable fire. Now that verse 12, I had no idea what that meant, right? It's we'll call it a farming reference, if you will.
Yeah.
And, may not know it, but I'm not the farming type. That might come as a surprise to you.
No way.
Now, I'm a farming romantic. Let me be clear.
You are a wannabe farmer.
I want
at
to be
heart.
a farmer so bad. I want to have
Land,
100 acres,
cattle,
and
mini Highland cows,
5 mini Highland cows. Want some grass puppies,
some chickens,
and maybe some baby goats, miniature goats. Right?
all the cute little things.
Correct. Like a fake farmer. I want to be a fake farmer and drive a tractor around.
Yeah, that's right. With your straw hat.
Right. So this verse, his winnowing fork in his right hand. So winnowing fork, think of that like a pitchfork, right? But this term winnowing, what they're doing is actually trying to separate the grain from the garbage.
So the useful from the useless.
Correct. And winnowing is almost like letting air blow the garbage away. So in the video we were talking about, there was this person almost throwing up grain, right? And the grain would fall, the substance would fall to the ground.
Right.
And the trash, the garbage would just
blow
blow
away. It almost looked like
winnowing.
magic. It
Right.
was really cool.
And to me, this became such a picture of what we're supposed to do with our life. Let me take my life, the good, the bad, the everything. Let me throw it up to you, Lord. And let your breath breathe away the trash and leave the substance.
Yeah.
Winnowing. And the other thing that I was thinking about is, man, I don't focus on winnowing. I don't focus on throwing my life up to the Lord and let him kind of blow away the garbage and just kind of keep the substance. I focus more on winning than winnowing.
Yeah.
I focus on winning. I focus on winning so that I avoid failure and disappointment.
Yeah.
Right? Versus winnowing, which is an intentional process of trying to get the garbage and trash out of your life and allowing God to do that.
Yeah.
And then when I got really deeper in this and I started looking at these two words, right? What's the difference in those two words when you spell them out?
Ow.
O-W, ow. Pain. The sound we make when we experience pain. Because the reality is for us to actually get some of that trash out of our life, there's going to be pain.
Yeah.
There's going to be trials. And that's, we've talked a lot about that on this podcast of count it all joy. The trials, the pain. Why? Why is it there? It's to get this garbage out of our life and truly rely on the Lord. So I had this word winnowing
Is that your word for 2024?
That's my word for 24.
You know how people love to say, "What's your word?"
Yes.
I think it's a new trendy thing over the last few years.
You know, so I'm going to this real complicated word of winnowing, but I love the picture of focus on winnowing versus focus on winning.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Are you okay with that? How do you feel? I mean, I always hate to ask you, how do you feel? Because that's, your brain sort of falls apart a little bit when I say that. But are you okay with that?
I don't think I'm supposed to be okay about it, right? It's challenging.
Okay.
I think it's supposed to be challenging.
Yeah.
I don't think we're called to be okay. I think we're called to be obedient.
Oh, that's
Right?
deep.
That's
Like,
the owl. That's the owl part.
yeah, that is owl.
So am I okay? No, because I'm not naturally going to be good at it. One.
And you rarely do anything. Actually, you don't do anything that you do not believe you will be good at.
Well, yeah, I avoid things that I think I'm going to completely fail at, which is not super healthy either. Working through that.
Yes.
Trying to embrace failure and putting myself in situations where the likelihood of me failing is higher.
And I'm proud of you for that.
Well, thank you.
You're
But yeah,
welcome.
winnowing is a process, right?
Yeah.
It's a process. And so when you ask, am I okay with that? I'm like, girl, it's a process.
So when you did, thank goodness, shift to
What? That was a very intense thing. I don't even know what you're about to say.
when you did shift from, hey girl, let's sit down and write out some goals and intentions and all that stuff, shifted away from that and to who do you want instead? Who do you want to be?
Well, specifically, who do we want us to be? I tried to bring an us conversation.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
I
'cause
thought you just said
No, I was trying to
me.
say, who do we want to be as a couple? So it's not like this independent track. Like, how do we come together and have a shared vision?
That's great. But we definitely, no, it is. That's great. But we still, in addition to, need to work on things individually because we do not have the same struggles.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's not dance around it. Of course, in my head, I have plenty of goals and objectives that I want to have in 24.
Of course you do. I am no dummy. Maybe our listeners didn't know that, but I bet
That you're no dummy?
But that you had goals, girl. You trying to get punched now. But when you said that, I did start thinking about who do I want to be? I want to be someone who is intentional with the gift of time that I've been given. I have the gift of giving away my time. And I want to be a lot more intentional with that. I want to be someone who is willing to get more uncomfortable.
It's amazing that you talked about time. I put this watch on today.
Didn't
Right.
even notice it.
Right. When's the last time you saw me wear this watch? It's probably been years.
Yeah, I didn't even know it still worked, honestly.
It doesn't. That's the point.
Then why do you have it on?
To remind me to slow down time.
Oh, that is so philosophical of
is.
you.
It was well, I thought it was completely dead, and I was trying to get it to stop on a certain number, but it's half working. But yeah, it was this tangible reminder because I'm getting frustrated with my other watch, and so I put this on.
Don't name brand
I
names,
know.
girl. We will get
know.
flagged.
So I put this on just as a reminder to slow down.
Is it working?
Well, I've only had it on for like an hour, so I don't know.
Okay, you can report back.
See. We'll see how it works.
You can report back.
Yes, but that's the tangible reminders to slow down is a watch that doesn't work.
That's very interesting. So back to me.
And now more about you.
And now more about me. No, like with us, I do want to be more intentional with my time. I want to serve others more. I talked to you about I mean, I'm just going to put it
Don't
out.
say it.
I
If
am.
you say it,
I
if
am.
you say it, you're committed.
I'm going to say it.
Woo!
I've
Come on.
talked to you and even
on.
reached out to someone at church
Yeah, you're
about getting involved in women's prison ministry. And
now you're committed now.
well, let me just
on
tell
record.
you. Let me just tell you. And I didn't even think about this until our contact at church said this. He said, "What is your connection? Like, what is your past with prison? Like, do you have any connection? Like, do you know anybody? Do you currently have someone serving there? Have you ever been?" And I'm like, "No, I literally have. There are no ties. There's no past. There's no history. There's no connection. It is honestly and truly just, it has to be the Lord. It can't, it's not just me manufacturing some idea in my head like, oh,
Well, I mean, we have been involved in several years with a local nonprofit that does expungements and things like that. So connected to the criminal justice system, but nothing hands-on, really.
nothing hands-on at all. And what he said was, I think it's pretty amazing that someone who has no connection to it at all whatsoever is approaching me. Well, he was just tickled pink that I was approaching him, because he said, usually I have to chase people down to get them to be involved. And here you are coming to me. And I said, well, don't give me too much congratulations, because I haven't done anything yet other than have this conversation, make this connection. And he was just so pleased about it. He's already sent me a text this morning, and that was just yesterday.
Yeah, yes. All right, so go ahead and write that down as another podcast topic in about 6 months, is
To see.
how has women's prison ministry changed you?
Right. And there are a couple of different avenues that can be taken in volunteering. And, of course I'm excited because I love new things. This is a point of tension between you and I. I'm like, oh, new shiny thing. Oh, new shiny thing. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel.
Finish the game, girl. Finish the game.
Right. And that's so hard for me because my attention gets diverted very easily. I'm sure I have ADHD. I'm sure I do. I have to have it because I have all the signs, all the symptoms, all the whatevers. But I believe I am ready-ish.
Well, I don't think you're ready. I think that's okay.
Well, you know what I'm saying though. I am okay. How about
you're listening
willing?
and responding.
I'm listening, responding, obeying to the next call. And it's terrifying. I'll just be honest. It is absolutely terrifying to get involved with something that I know nothing about. It's just.
But you know what's amazing? I think as you're saying this, is you don't even know what the call is, right?
No,
and so it's
not yet.
It's us listening and being obedient to just that next step God's given us. You just took a step to talk to a contact.
Yeah.
Right? And then he's going to give you another step, and you're going to take that step. And it's
Yeah.
like, how can we just focus more on these individual steps that God shows us versus where is this going? Like, that's where I struggle. Like, where is the big plan?
How many times have we talked about this on the podcast about how the Lord lights up only the steps that we need to see?
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask for the blueprint, girl. Just one step at a time.
Well, I'm trying
One
to
step
go into
at a
24 to
time.
not create the blueprint. Right?
Yeah.
Right. That's the hard part for me. I'm like, okay, there's not a blueprint. Let me create one.
You need to let the master architect
Ooh.
create the blueprint for you.
You know what that would be?
What?
Winnowing.
Well done. So is there anything else you want to share or talk about? Because we're reflecting on 2023. We're looking forward to 2024. Challenges that we want to take on. Comfort zones that we want to step out of. So do you have anything else you want to share?
Put me on the spot, why don't you?
It's because I love you.
Uh-huh. You know what I said to you the other day?
What's that? I mean, probably how much you love me, but
Probably. And then
I'm sure you said something else.
And then I was like, you know what I'm wrestling with this morning? I do this all the time to you. I'm like, you know what God just whispered to me in the shower? Like I have these moments where I'm like,
Yeah, that was at 6:30 in the morning.
yeah. And what God said is anytime we're using the phrase, I've earned or I deserve, is from the devil. And I was like, wait, what?
That's episode number 32.
Right, because again, I am progress, goal, performance oriented, right? And cause and effect. And he whispered, anytime you're thinking that you, quote, deserve something or you've earned something, that's not from me. And so I was thinking even simple things of, hey, when you're doing really good on your diet and exercise, you're like, I deserve a cheat day.
I've earned
a
treat.
This. And then a lot of times
I am the queen of that.
And then what happens a lot of times is
I'll be honest.
your treat turns into a downward spiral, or you break your routine or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, does Satan use that little you deserve, you earn more than we realize?
Probably.
Right? And so I was thinking about that. And
Or it is just our sin nature, not necessarily
maybe.
Satan.
That's right.
It could be either or both.
Either way, it's not from God.
Yeah.
Because if we're having that conversation with God, he's going to go like, well, you know what you really deserve and what you've earned?
Death and separation.
Ouch. Okay. So,
Ow.
Right. Ow.
Ow.
Winnowing.
Winnowing.
Got to enunciate. So that got me thinking about the diet and exercise, because usually what happens in a lot of cases for me, like I'm super disciplined, I'm going on a good move, and then I'm like, I deserve to take a break, or I deserve to have this giant Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving all the way to Christmas.
And then Christmas
down.
all the way to Easter.
And then Christmas all the way to New Year. And then, you don't want to start anything on January 1st because that's just way too cliche.
Yeah.
So I got this thought and I threw it out at you and I said, hey, what if we didn't have any added sugar in this house in 24?
Why are you smiling? Because my immediate response was, okay.
Right. But I didn't know how you were going to handle that. And I didn't know that I didn't know if I wanted you to say right and good. I wasn't sure.
Wait, hang on. Hold up.
I think
Did you want me to push back?
I mean, yes and no.
Why am I hearing about this in real time on the podcast, hot on the mic, girl?
I think, well, one, I love a good debate. So I naturally think I want a little bit of pushback. Just so we can talk through it.
Yeah.
Because that's fun for me. But you were like, yeah, okay, I'm in on that. And I'm like, oh, crud.
You're like, oh, shoot.
I guess
that did not go as planned.
I guess that's a thing now. So.
Well, but you did say, but we can also talk about, special things like Easter and just treats, but away from the house.
Yeah. I have been, I think we do put so much junk in our body. Even those of us that are really disciplined with diet, I think there's a lot of just stuff we put in our body that's probably not good for us. And I'm trying to do a lot more research and understand that more.
Yeah.
Especially as we're getting older. I know, don't tell anybody, but look at the hands. Hands give you away.
I am no older than 35.
Oof, girl.
I'm staying there for the rest of my life.
Okay. But yeah, I was like, what if we just didn't have any added sugar in the house? Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have celebrations and things like that, but in terms of what we keep in the house, because you know me, like I'm all or none.
Because it's readily available.
Girl, you have Oreos in this house? Like
Attack.
Like the poor kids, they're stocking, right? They all got Oreos, okay? And then what happened? They went to...
How many of those kids have had those Oreos?
Then they went to my parents' house for 3 days. They came back to how many Oreos?
None.
Crushed them.
Yeah.
Hashtag winning, not winnowing. Right.
Hey, girl.
Yeah, girl.
I don't think that's you winning. I think that's you showing your behind.
Listen, those Oreos were trying to attack me, and I defeated them.
Good for you.
Good for me.
Yeah, your kids were not happy about that.
No.
Oh, I just thought of something.
What's that?
You literally said that you were going to restock all of their stuff.
Yeah. Well, then I told them, hey, that's probably not going to happen because that's what we're doing.
Where
And
was I when this happened?
You were in the bath, and they were super not happy with that.
Oh, thank God it wasn't me though.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, my moms, I feel like we're a part of this gang where we are, for the most part, the ones who have to give the bad news all the time. So I'm so grateful that number one, I wasn't the one who had to give it.
Yeah.
Number two, that I wasn't there to witness it.
Yeah. So, you know what happens? Like 5 minutes later, one of your children that shall not be named comes up with like an M&M holder, like one of those, the Pop Tops.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, here, open this. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay. And so I open the top and there's a note inside.
What
And
does
she's
it
like,
say?
take the note out. And I'm like, oh boy. I take the note out and then she runs off. And I read the note and it goes, that's what you get for stealing all of our candy.
Wow. I don't know whether to punish that child or to give that child a high five.
It was pretty funny.
I mean, that's solid.
It was funny.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, girl.
Wow.
So here we go. We're heading into 24.
Yep.
Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap this one up?
I think, I like to end with challenging our listeners and those who are watching. And I'm going to keep it's not easy, but it's simple. Instead of, or in addition to setting intentions, setting goals that are measurable, maybe try sitting down in the quiet, no AirPods, no books, no TV on, no nothing.
Scary.
And just think about who you want to be. What kind of person do you want other people to remember you as or to talk about you as? And write them down, put them up on your mirror. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I need daily reminders. Sometimes I need minute by minute reminders of who God has called me to be, because the sin nature is really strong. Spiritual attacks are super real. And so I think I just want to encourage everyone as we're starting this new year to think about who you want to be and what it's going to take to become that person, and to also encourage everyone to start spending that alone time with God, which we are going to talk about hopefully in the next episode, but if not, in the next few episodes, that is coming down the pipe. Because I think it's really important, and I think it's something that most of us have gotten away from because we are addicted to noise.
And distraction, yeah.
Don't you think? Don't you think that we are? And when I say noise, I don't mean just audible noise. I just mean, it's a figure of speech.
Yes,
we're just addicted to the noise.
It's a drug for us that we have to have something flashy, shiny going on.
Loud. We're uncomfortable with silence.
We are. I think we're uncomfortable with ourself. Sometimes just sitting with ourself and sitting with our thoughts.
Oh, even when you and I were at the kitchen table, y'all, I promise we're wrapping up. But even when you and I were at the kitchen table, we were talking, and then we just stopped for, a few seconds. And one of our children said, she wasn't facing us, so she couldn't see what was going on, but she literally said, "Are y'all okay?" And we looked at each other and just smiled, but we didn't say anything at all. And she, perked up, turned around, "Are y'all okay?" And then we smiled at her, but it's just that. It's
just
like
a little silence.
Just a little bit of silence makes everyone uncomfortable. So sit in the silence, figure out who it is that God's calling you to be.
That's right.
Not who you want to be.
That's right.
And until next time, Happy New Year, everyone.
Let's
And
lean into 2024.
Yeah, we can't wait to see y'all next time.
Awesome. See ya.